3 steps to your Cyprus Limited. In this video, you'll learn how to set up your Cyprus Limited in a legally secure and straightforward way so you can benefit from Cyprus's tax advantages. Hello and welcome. My name is Florian Wilk. I am the Managing Director of CMC in Larnaca, Cyprus. For now, 15 years, and we support entrepreneurs in making the move to Cyprus. That means we provide support with emigration, obtaining non-dom status, setting up trusts and foundations, and of course with establishing a limited company and ongoing bookkeeping. And setting up a limited company is a very, very important point because that's actually where most mistakes are made. And I see it very, very often that the timing isn't right, that notifications aren't made, and as a result, penalties are incurred. And all of these are unnecessary things. If you pay attention to a few essential factors and simply follow a certain order, you can very easily avoid these typical mistakes. That's why it's important that you follow the next 3 steps in any case and don't just set something up at random. This is actually the most common mistake, that people just go to Cyprus, or you can even do it remotely, meaning from afar, that you just set up a company and then see what happens. That's not what we want. So in the first step, we naturally work with you to consider what this structure should look like. Are you the sole shareholder? Are there other shareholders? Who will take over management? How do we ensure there is sufficient substance? This is an extremely important topic. The company needs substance. You need a place of business, and of course, you need management on site. What's the best way to set this up? These are absolutely fundamental things. And timing is just as important. Do you currently reside in a country where you have to report foreign shareholdings? Do you live in a country where there is an exit tax? Would it be smart to set up a company abroad just to then possibly move away in 6 or 12 months and be subject to the exit tax? That's tricky, right? So these are really, really important considerations. That's why, as a first step, you should always evaluate the setup. And it's absolutely crucial that you have someone as a sparring partner who is familiar with the tax laws in your country of residence. Or, if in doubt, that you bring together 2 advisors, namely one from your country of origin, one from your country of residence, and of course one in Cyprus. And that's the crucial part, and you should really take your time and carefully evaluate what needs to be considered here, what mistakes we can avoid in order to ensure a smooth process. So in the second step, things get a bit bureaucratic. That means you take care of compliance and KYC. What does that mean? As a law firm, for example, Panayiotou LLC, we first have to check who the client actually is. We need a copy of the passport, a recent utility bill, a short CV, and a brief business plan. It's really about checking for anti-money laundering and compliance reasons. Who are we dealing with here? Is the project legally sound? These are simply standard review scenarios. As a rule, this is absolutely unproblematic. I also have to say we've always been lucky to have the right and great clients who find their way to us, so to speak. But nonetheless, it's a regulation, and that's exactly what the supervisory authority, in this case the Bar Association, wants, that these things are simply checked. And that also takes a few days, and there are also a few documents required for that. It's a certain amount of effort that shouldn't be underestimated. I would always become very, very suspicious if a lawyer says, I don't need that at all, just a copy of your ID is enough for me, or something like that. Because then something isn't right. That means someone isn't taking these regulations seriously. And that can actually lead to serious disadvantages. In that case, I wouldn't be so sure whether that law firm will still exist in 5 or 10 years, because it can really be existentially threatening if the Bar Association initiates corresponding proceedings there. So it is absolutely important to make absolutely sure that there is sound and complete compliance, that there is truly thorough and comprehensive compliance, because that is simply a fundamental requirement in Europe. There is absolutely no way around it at all. So exactly. And then, and this is also the second step, then the articles of association for the company are drawn up. Here too, it's important that we don't just take an off-the-rack suit, so to speak, but a tailored one, that the articles of association are customized to your business, to your company. Depending on the industry, this can even be very crucial, and it's also important to know what's planned for the coming years, where the journey might be headed. Because accordingly, the articles of association should of course be structured, not only in terms of activities, but also if you have several people involved in terms of the relevant statutes, especially when it comes to capital increases. So there are a great many important things you truly need to pay close attention to, and it's really quite important to sit down and thoroughly discuss them. Then, of course, carefully draft the articles of association and have them officially signed by the company. Now, the third step in founding a company in Cyprus, the Cyprus Limited, is the registration of the company. Beforehand, it's always important to have the company name checked at the commercial register. You can do this without any obligation and just let us know 2 or 3 names at any time, so to speak. Then we'll check in advance whether the names are generally eligible for registration. And if that's been done beforehand and we submit the company for incorporation, it usually takes 2 to 3 weeks. Sometimes it's even faster. It really depends on the time of year, whether there have been holidays, and so on. Sometimes it can be done even faster, but 2 to 3 weeks is a very realistic time frame that you should factor in for the incorporation. And then, in the next step, once the company is registered in the Nicosia Commercial Register, the application for the tax number and the VAT ID number, that is the VAT number, naturally follows. Then comes the business account opening and so on, so that within another 2 to 4 weeks you are also fully operational with the company. So I would always plan for 4 to 6 weeks for the incorporation and activation of the company. And beforehand, when it comes to defining the structure and handling compliance, that's very individual. There are very straightforward cases which can be completed in just a few days. But there are also certain scenarios where it can potentially take several weeks or even many months, especially when multiple business partners need to come together, or if we happen to have somewhat more complex models, then of course it can certainly take significantly more time accordingly. So always start thinking about it early on, even if you're only planning to emigrate or set up a company in Cyprus next year or the year after. It always makes sense to already look for a potential partner and consider what things need to be taken into account so that you at least get a rough idea, a basic structure in place. That always makes sense. I would never do this last minute because under time pressure you might make mistakes or wrong decisions. You certainly don't want that. So I hope I was able to help you a bit, give you some tips and advice, and I look forward to your feedback. How is your process of founding a Cyprus Limited? If you already have a company in Cyprus, let me know. Feel free to give me some feedback in the comments. Was proper compliance carried out? Was the articles of association adapted to your needs? Feel free to write it in the comments. I'm of course looking forward to your experiences and your feedback. And if you enjoyed the video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe for regular updates on topics like emigrating, setting up companies abroad for Cyprus, Georgia, Madeira, and other jurisdictions. So, thank you very much and see you very, very soon. Yours, Florian Wilk.